The question is, what's the agenda by censoring the truth? What I'm worried about, Patrick, is that if this doesn't get rectified and gets rectified in the very, very near future, within the next few weeks, that our world, and when I say our world, I'm not just talking about where I live or where you live, but our world, our planet is going to be a different place. And our children will never have the same opportunity as we did. They will be sicker, they will be controlled, they will not have any privacy, they will not have any future, and their children may never exist, because this will usher in what I believe will be the next phase, which is extinction of the human race. Regardless of what China did, it's our government right now creating this problem. I'm going to show you this. And I don't, when I say government, I'm not saying the president, I'm not saying Fauci, I'm saying there's factions in there. Fauci is a part of the player. When a surgeon walks into and this is very important, Patrick, when a surgeon wears a mask, and when a nurse wears a mask with a critical patient, we're not wearing that mask to protect ourselves. When you're doing open heart surgery, replacing a knee, or you're doing some kind of hernia repair, why would you be worried about catching something? You're not. You're wearing the mask so you don't drool, you don't spit, you don't cough, you don't sneeze into that open surgical field. It's because you keep it sterile. All right. When in certain societies they wear a mask, they're not wearing the mask to protect themselves. They're wearing the mask to protect others from them from them spreading it. Now we come to the United States and we come to the current issue. Everything is misinformation. All right. We know that stress increases the cortisol, which is the stress hormone, which decreases the immune system. So when you scare people, tell them to stay home, you suppress their immune system because you're scaring them. You further suppress them because economic issues, they're stressed out. Now you tell them wear a face mask. What are you doing when you're wearing a face mask? A face mask reduces the amount of oxygen coming in. So now your body's in a chronic state of stress. And that face mask is obstructing airway. Just today, I saw a woman that passed out in her car and died, had a car accident and died because of the lack of oxygen from her face mask. They're pushing this agenda, and it's an agenda to make people weaker, to make them more susceptible. The face mask then also prevents, when your body's being stressed out and you're not getting enough oxygen, it then creates other issues. Remember they said don't touch your face and don't okay, well if you're sweating and you've got face mask, don't you think people are gonna be pushing it around? Okay, on top of that, when you have this release of viruses, because viruses live inside our cells, when they have this release, when I say live, they're not living, but when they're released, and you're wearing a face mask, you're preventing the ability you're actually stressing the body out and increasing the viral activation, if you will. All right, there are doctors in New York that have treated patients very successfully. Nobody's died with this treatment regimen. The vast majority, within a few hours to a day and a half, have resolved their symptomology. The symptomology, by the way, is being reported by doctors. This isn't a typical virus. It doesn't fit the picture. It's a hypoxic injury. It's like altitude sickness. Regardless of what it is, some doctors have used the hydroxychloroquine and the Zithromax component, and they've seen success. Great, let's use it. President says, well, these established drugs, we know it's not gonna kill you. Let's use that instead of the vaccine, because we don't know what the vaccine's gonna do. Fauci comes out and says, no, unless studies are done, we should not be using that regimen. But hey, it's okay to take a vaccine that's never been established and studied, and let's go ahead and give it to the population and see what happens. I mean, again, I'm just an observer. Yeah. And to me, when something walks like a duck, talks like a duck, moves like a duck, flaps its wings like a duck, it's a damn duck. Media has reported certain people died of COVID-19. They haven't. Media is reporting nurses crying and saying, oh, I just want a mask so I can. They weren't even real nurses. And if they were nurses, they haven't worked in an ER or ICU in over a year and a half. They're media, they're paid actors. You've got people with the same image, different names, died in different parts of the country with COVID-19, but the same person, it's the same image. It's all this, they got hospital footage from one hospital and then saying it's another hospital, saying another hospital, all these lies. If this was really a true thing, then why is the media not reporting the truth? We're living in the age of social media. Everybody can pick up a video. I mean, you can't trip and fall without it being on social media. Where are these hundreds of thousands of deaths? Where are they? And the deaths that they're showing, they're mannequins. They're not even real people. Okay? The footage of doctors and nurses, dancing all over the country. Why? Because they're idle. There's nothing going on. And I've said this for 20 years, that if there's another civil war, it will be based upon the issue of vaccinations. And it may be a civil war in every country. People talk about, do you think World War III is coming? I think World War III is coming, but I don't think it's going to be coming like people think. I think it's going to be a war right now, this is an attack on consciousness. And I think the war will be within each country, where there will be those that want the choice and those that are being forced to take the choice that are going to revolt. And I hope the people that are listening right now in that hierarchy, that you understand that if your agenda is population control, there may be lives that are lost in the next battle, but you are barking up the wrong tree, because I have great confidence in the Creator. I have great confidence in mankind, and your nefarious agenda is not going to come to fruition. Died of COVID-19 supposedly, actually had the H1N1 flu shot, had the covalent flu shot, had the trivalent flu shot, had other adult vaccines. Nobody's reporting that. That's what I want to know. And I can tell you what a story back in H1N1, when that happened, I actually put out a couple of videos, and according to some people, millions of lives were saved because of the video I put out. But again, it was questioning, and there were other doctors that came out too, questioning what's this H1N1? The guy has technology. He couldn't keep, I like to say this, I saw this as a meme, but he couldn't keep viruses out of Microsoft, but now he thinks he can keep viruses out of the human body. I find that interesting. He's not a virologist, he's not a doctor, he has no medical training. He's going into an arena that he's been involved with for many years. And he's, as you said, 2011, he talked about he insinuated depopulation. Why is a software developer the same time as Steve Jobs that came up, and Steve Jobs was loved all over the world, but Gates was, getting pied in the face 10, 12, 15 years ago. He's been hated by so many people for so long. Why? Then you start looking at his history, you start looking at his philosophy. Now he comes along, he's got his hands in the WHO, in the CDC, in all the major bodies that are responsible to safeguard our lives, your life, my life, our children's lives. He's got his hands in there. They just hacked into the World Health Organization, into the Gates Foundation, and they've downloaded everything. And the exposure that they found, the level of corruption, the level of bribes, money exchanging, there's a huge agenda. So let's just put that aside. That stuff is going to come out maybe with WikiLeaks, who knows how it's going to come out. And now you're going to create a vaccine for it? So if that's not suspect, okay, let's keep on going down that pathway. Now he's not only got the patent on this virus, he's on mainstream media talking about the vaccine. There has been no vaccine that has been developed in less than 4 years that has ever been used. And you know the number of problems that vaccines have caused. It's been the subject of congressional testimony, et cetera, et cetera. I can tell you the vaccines are not safe. For God's sake, this is changing the planet, and every scientist and every doctor that knows this to be a facade needs to open their mouth and speak. People need to wake up and realize there is a massive criminal component. Now you tell me something. This social distancing is 6 feet. The technology in the military has been there for 15 to 20 years, where they can monitor a soldier as he's behind enemy lines. When they're moving, special operators are always being tracked so that they can be protected, so the backup can be brought in, and they can be seen within a 5-foot radius of where they're standing. This 6-foot distancing, social distancing, this is absolute garbage. There's nothing that leaps 6 foot, first of all. The second thing is that these RF chips, you're telling me that when they insert these things in us, and which the technology's been out there for 4 or 5 years, they've got private companies that are going out there and doing this. I've got video footage on part 6 already of showing people getting RF chip. You don't think that those satellites or other monitoring devices are being able to pick up individuals? They're trying to desensitize us so that people understand, hey, social distancing is going to keep you safe. Whereas in fact, what is being done is so that they can monitor us and see us together. Because if 3 or 4 or 10 or 20 people are together close, they can't tell if it's 1 person or 10 people. They want social distancing to imprint upon us now that this is something that's new now, and everybody needs to do this for protection. Whereas in fact, it's for more monitoring. It's for more tracking. It's for more ability for them to decide who should be available to talk and work, and who should be used as a dissident or classified as a dissident and made quiet. So you asked me the question, you opened up the can of worms. That's what I believe. Some people may disagree with me. Most people may think I'm a lunatic. It doesn't make any difference, because you know what? It's a part and parcel of what's been coming down the pipeline for years, for decades. The National Vaccine Initiative, stamp out childhood disease. We're not going to have autism anymore. And autism was 1 in 10,000 in 1991. Now the numbers are 1 in 32. The CDC's own data shows that 1% of the world's population has autism. The CDC's own data, the population of the world right now is 7.7 billion. That means 77 million people have autism. Caused from what? From the vaccines. And you're telling me that this new vaccine that Fauci is going to introduce and ignore the hydroxychloroquine and the Zithromax, you're telling me that vaccine is something that I should be considering safe to introduce into my body, into my children's body? I'll be dead before that happens. There's no way that I'm going to allow anybody to take our sovereign right. Thomas Jefferson said that when a people allow a government to dictate the foods they put in their mouths and the medicines to take in their bodies, their souls will soon be in the same sorry state as those who live under tyranny. And that's exactly where we're going. Unless we rise and we en masse people go up and have public gatherings of thousands, 2,000, 3,000 people and show that there's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to fear but fear itself, in the words of FDR. It's one lie upon another lie, Gary. And the American people, not just the American people, the world's citizens, this is affecting the entire world. You all need to realize that this is a facade. And the scientists and the doctors that are keeping their mouths shut, if you're not part of the solution, you are part of the problem. You are creating and perpetuating a myth, and you should be speaking out, not be worried about your own personal safety. Speak out the truth because the rest of the world needs it. The media propagating footage of hospitals and from one country to another country using the same footage, the same person dying multiple times, use of mannequins to show that the people are dying, and yet they can't even show ambulances that are doing anything. They're all parked. They're all sitting there. People are playing chess. They're playing card games because they're so idle. Nurses are being laid off right now because there's not enough work. But they're pushing this agenda of fear, fear, fear. The fear mongering itself will increase your adrenal output, will cause more stress, more emotional distraught. The emotional aspect, one side, now you're talking about the financial aspect. People are going to get stressed. Guess what that does? It reduces your immune system and makes you susceptible to viruses, bacteria, to many other things. But then to create this illusion over something like COVID-19, which nobody has yet demonstrated a single death from the actual virus, from the proper, established, accepted methodology that a virus has caused this death. Nobody's been able to do that. It's all based upon PCR testing. Now, 2018, there are multiple studies that show that if you've had the flu shot, especially the trivalent flu shot, false positives on COVID-19 testing. God knows what's been injected into people over the years. They really want to know cause of death. I want to know how many of these people that are supposedly died from COVID-19, which, by the way, still the numbers are less than seasonal flu. The number of deaths are still less than the seasonal flu. But I want to know how many of these people that died of supposed COVID-19 actually had a history of a vaccination, an adult vaccination in the last 10 years. That's what I want to know, because the studies clearly show that if you've had a flu shot, you're going to test positive for COVID-19. So you got all this other stuff that's going on. They can't justify the numbers, so they're going to change the death certificates. They can't justify the numbers, so they're going to take different footage of different people and then attribute that to COVID-19. They just had, CBS had that nurse that was crying, saying, please give me a face mask so that I can take care of people, and I don't want to risk my family getting them infected. And then they find out that hasn't worked in a hospital in a year and a half, and she's some kind of a social media model. The amount of misrepresentation, deception, diversion tactics to keep the public from knowing the truth, it's just unbelievable.